Well, you too are a girl from Ipanema or Mae West sashaying into a room or belly dancer striding onto stage or through a club. Swaying your hips as a way of claiming all of this. I so encourage you to do this. So many of us received a message, subtly or not so subtly, about this walk, about how we walk, right? The idea was to not move our hips as much as possible, because if you did, it meant that you were a fast girl or that there was something racy about you, right? Here's the thing, is that this is our natural shock absorber. When we hold our hips still and don't allow them to move from side to side, what ends up happening is that you have scores of women with lower back pain, discomfort, stiffness in the hips, etc. And it's simply because we're not allowing this natural, like when we move, this is what lubricates the joints, right? It's when we move. And when we don't move, that's when we become stiff, right? And so why is this so important for reclaiming the feminine and the feminine body? Because we've had all these messages that said, don't do this, right? Don't move your hips. Keep them perfectly still. If you want to be taken seriously, especially if you're looking in the corporate world or what have you, don't move these. But really, we got this message way before then, as young women as young girls turning into women. We're told, don't move this. So here's the thing, right? Not only is it your natural shock absorber, and our bodies are meant to move this way, right? And nature is the perfect strategist. In other words, there's nothing wrong with you, right? There is nothing wrong with you. So if your natural movement, if we naturally switch our weight from one foot to the other, which is what you do when you walk, correct? As a woman, what that's going to do is it's going to tip up your hips just a little bit. So I want you to play with this idea of allowing your hips to move as you walk. Part of why this is so critically important for us is this idea of presence, okay? By forcing ourselves to kind of stay in the middle and not move our hips, we're not present in our own bodies, right? But when we allow our hips to move from side to side, now we're fully present here, and then here, and then here. So I dare you, I encourage you, I invite you, I dare you to sway your hips as you walk. It doesn't have to be all big and dramatic, right? You don't have to be like Jessica Rabbit or Betty Boop or Mae West or any other siren, or you could. I would appreciate that very much. Or it could be subtle, it could be soft. But allowing your hips to move, it is a subtle message that we send to ourselves that says, there is nothing wrong with me. The way that I move is beautiful and without shame. And that all of that shame that has been layered on us is not ours. It's not yours. Your body is perfect. Your hips are perfect. And being fully present in our bodies as women means, or people identifying as women, shifting those hips, allowing our spine to move and be fluid, because that's part of our nature, right? I think it was, I hope I get this person right, Lao Tzu? who wrote, I want to say he wrote The Art of War. I could be totally wrong. But wrote this, was talking about masculine versus feminine. And you can generalize this to men and women, but it's also like we each have feminine and masculine in all of us, right? So he likened masculine to the rock in the water and the feminine to the water that runs around it. And he was talking about which is stronger. And the masculine appears stronger because it's like rock, right? It's solid. But the thing is the feminine flows around the rock, and over time will wear the rock down. That came, and I don't know if that came out right. Martina, I'm so dramatic. Yes, I am, with pride. So give this gift to yourself and experiment. One of the things that happens when we start to really claim and own our bodies is our circle of influence expands. Okay? It takes energy to hold your hips still as a woman. It takes energy to prevent your hips from moving, right? That is energy, girl, that you could use for other things, right? So we put so much energy into rejecting different parts of our bodies all the time. Too fat, too skinny, like a bad hair day, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Sun Tzu, thank you. But I don't know if that's the same. Sun Tzu wrote The Art of War, but I don't know if it was him or Lao Tzu that did this quote about masculine versus feminine. So thanks, Martine, for being my fact checker. I appreciate you. This being present in the body actually means radically accepting our body. And so allowing your hips to move is one very beautiful way of doing this. And why it expands your circle of influence, why it expands your presence, because every time that we make a decision to accept a part of ourselves, especially if we've invested so much energy, same difference, right? So invested so much energy in denying some aspect of ourselves, suppressing some aspect of ourselves, repressing some aspect of ourselves, it sucks up energy. It becomes like an energy bind, and that becomes energy that is no longer available to you to use to do what you are here on the planet and what no one else on the planet can do but you. You are that unique and magnificent. So we need all of that energy to have access to. When I started allowing my hips to sway, and this was in corporate, I noticed that I had more presence when I entered a room. And it wasn't, now there's a difference here between, right, like I come hither, I'm like trying to get attention by moving my hips. Not that there's anything wrong with that, right? But that's a different intention. What I'm talking about is accepting, allowing, flowing, and letting those hip sways free you to really show up as yourself. So I would love to hear from you. What comes up for you when I say allow your hips to sway? And what do you start to notice? I can tell you that this is so vitally important. It's often one of the first things that I talk about in my workshops with women is we'll just get in a room. I'll be like, let's walk. Let's walk. And we just work on, hey, Veronica. We just work on opening up our walks. And this is the feedback that I get each and every time. Women leave the workshop, they go, and they just take some of these pieces, like different body pieces, right? What have I learned being on stage as a belly dancer for over 10 years? A lot about how to have presence without, it's not about pulling. It's not about pulling. It's about being so present that you're magnetic, right? And so this is a piece of that. Yeah. So experiment with that. Try it. I want to see what happens. Let me know in the comments what went down. And if you like this tool and other tools that you find on my page, you are welcome to come over to my website at claimyourfeminine.com and download the whole guide, Everyday Pleasure, 52 Ways to Add Pleasure to Your Day without adding to your to-do list. And it's a belly dancer's perspective on pleasure. Come on over. I would love to see you. And if you've enjoyed this video, if you found it useful, inspiring, triggering, share it. Spread the word. That's it for this evening. From my heart to yours, I love you. Take what you need and pass it on. Charisse of claimyourfeminine.com. Ciao.